I wasn't snooping. That's the part that still haunts me. I wasn't searching for secrets or chasing suspicions. I trusted her. Completely. We were sitting in the car, parked outside the grocery store. She dashed inside to grab oat milk, or some other trivial thing she insisted she couldn't survive without. Her phone buzzed twice, lying there in the cup holder, unlocked and innocent. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The screen lit up. A message from someone named Blake. I didn't know a Blake. I'll pick you up in 15 minutes. Get rid of that loser today, and I'll move into your house. I'll be a father to your kids. The words hit me like a steel-toed boot to the gut. My lungs seized. I read it again, and again. The sentence didn't shift. Get rid of that loser. I was the loser. She returned to the car as if nothing had shattered, tossed the oat milk in the back, leaned in, kissed my cheek. My skin recoiled. She smelled like betrayal, an expensive perfume. I turned to her, slow and steady. Ice on the surface, fire underneath. I held her phone like a live grenade. Showed her the message. Her face drained, pale as death, like she'd seen a ghost. But the ghost was me, still breathing, still beside her. What the hell is this? I asked, voice cracking under the weight of rage. My grip turned her phone white with tension. She froze, blinked. Lips moved, but no sound came. She reached for the phone. Too late. I opened the message. My thumbs moved fast, yes. Baby. Sent. Then I looked at her, dead in the eye, and smiled. Not out of humor, but because something inside me snapped, clean and cold. That smile was my dam, holding back the flood. Let's go, I said. Where? She whispered. I didn't answer. Just drove. She didn't ask again. 10 minutes later, we pulled up to her parents' house. Her mother stepped outside, waving. I didn't even look her way. Got out. Opened the passenger door. Get out. Wait. Nick, please. Get out. Her mom approached, face wrinkled in concern. Is everything all right, sweetheart? No, ma'am, I said flatly. Your daughter's got a new man. She's moving in with him. Shouldn't be your problem anymore. I didn't wait for the fallout. Her mother's face twisted in shock and confusion, and I liked that. Let them stew in it. I drove off. Said nothing. 2 blocks from our house, I parked. Engine off. Lights out. I waited in the dark. 10 minutes. 15. Then I saw him. A silver Mustang sliding up my driveway. Some puffed-up clown in a fade and sunglasses, at night, stepped out, phone in hand, grinning like a game show host. Blake. He reached for the doorbell. I was already moving. Not walking, storming. My steps were thunder, warning the lightning. He turned at the sound. You Blake? I asked. He smiled. Yeah. And you must be. My fist cut him off, cracked into his jaw like a hammer to glass. He reeled back, slammed into the car. But I wasn't done. I grabbed his collar, slammed him on the hood. Once. Twice. You want to be a father to my kids? I growled. His eyes went wide. He raised his arms, helpless, bleeding. He wasn't ready. They never are. I didn't know she was married, he choked. Bullsh *T. I spat, smashing his phone to rubble against the asphalt. She told you I was the loser? You have no idea what storm you just walked into. When I finally let go, he was on the ground, coughing blood, begging me not to call the cops. I wouldn't. I didn't need to. This was only the beginning. I walked back to my car, fists aching, chest pulsing with fire. My heart wasn't racing. It was marching, steady and furious, like a war drum echoing into the night. She really thought she could erase me, rewrite our story like I never existed. But now, I held the pen, and they had no idea what I was about to write next. I didn't go home that night. I just drove, miles of empty roads and bad thoughts, trying to keep my fist from doing something worse than shattering Blake's smug little face. They still throbbed, but not like the hollow spreading in my chest. That wasn't pain anymore. It was colder than that. Uglier. At a gas station outside the city, I stared at my reflection in the restroom mirror. Bloodshot eyes. Rage-colored cheeks. I looked like a man who had buried something sacred. Because I had. Madison. My wife. My wife. The one who held me when I was broke, jobless, rebuilding from nothing. The one I pictured gray-haired beside me, someday, laughing in rocking chairs. Now she was calling me a loser. Plotting a new life with some knockoff Romeo. Planning to let another man raise my sons. I laughed. Bitter. Sharp enough to cut myself on. Fine. She wanted a fresh start? She could have it, but not without consequences. When I pulled into our driveway at sunrise, The Mustang was gone. No blood. No mess. Good. Let the coward vanish. I walked into our house. The silence hit harder than any punch. It used to feel warm, alive. Now it was a set piece. The photos on the walls mocked me. Maui. Birthdays. Christmas. All smiling, all poisoned now. I sat at the table, hands clenched. Ethan and Caleb would be up soon. I had to wear the mask for them. By 7 a.m., their little feet came padding down the hall. Caleb crawled into my lap, still in dreamland. Ethan rubbed his eyes, bear dragging behind him. Where's Mommy? He asked. Visiting Grandma, I said. Lie number one. I dropped them off at school like always. Played the part. Pretended everything wasn't broken. As soon as I got back in the car, I made the call. Divorce? The woman asked. Not yet, I said. I need advice. A strategy. And I'm not losing the house. Or my kids. We booked a meeting for that afternoon. But first, I needed ammunition. Back home, I did what I should have done months ago. Searched her drawers, her closet, her laptop. My pride had left the building. And then I found it. Hidden behind a bathroom cabinet, buried in a box of tampons. A burner phone. The messages inside. Rot. Filth. Photo after photo. Plan after plan. She wasn't just cheating. She was replacing me. You'll never have to work again, Blake had typed. I can't wait to wake up next to you and never see Nick's pathetic face again, she wrote back. Pathetic. That word, it hit harder than any punch. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd rewritten me into nothing. But I wasn't bleeding anymore. I was building a storm. 2 days later, when Madison finally walked through the door like nothing had happened, grocery bag in hand, humming that Go Doffel Pop tune, it took everything in me not to scream. I watched from the kitchen, arms folded, leaning into the silence. She noticed it, felt it. Her humming died. Smile faltered. Hey, she said carefully. Everything okay? I didn't answer, just stared. She blinked. Why are you looking at me like that? You really gonna pretend? I asked. Her lips parted, then sealed again. That plastic innocence cracked. Pretend what? I pulled the burner phone from my pocket and tossed it on the table. It landed soft, but it echoed like a bomb. Her face turned white. Go ahead, I said. Unlock it. She didn't move. Unlock. The phone. I don't know what that is, she whispered. I laughed, cold and hollow. You must think I'm an idiot. You hid it in the tampon box. Real classy. Still nothing. No denial. No apology. Just that blank, practiced stare. So I did it myself. Scrolled. Read. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Nick's still clueless. That one stung. I read it aloud. Her lips trembled, but not with guilt. With rage. Like I was the villain here. Like she had the right to be angry. You went through my stuff? She snapped. My hand slammed down on the table. The salt shaker jumped. You lied to me for months, I shouted. And you're mad that I found out? She flinched, but didn't back down. That's who she was. The kind of woman who could gut you with a smile and act like you were the one who owed her something. I wasn't happy, she said. No sh asterisk asterisk. Affairs usually come with that excuse. I didn't plan it, she whispered. It just happened. Right? I said, stepping in close. Like tripping into traffic. Or falling onto another man's bed. It was different with him. That one cut deep. So you love him? She said nothing. Just silence. I nodded. Got it. She finally looked away. You were always focused on work. On bills. On being responsible. I needed more. I nearly laughed again. So what? Being a husband and father wasn't enough? Paying for this house, that car, your damn oat milk. That didn't make you feel special? I felt invisible, she whispered, tears starting to spill. You were invisible, I said. Because the woman I married, the one who laughed in the rain and danced barefoot in the kitchen, she disappeared a long time ago. She turned, wiped her face like the tears mattered now. Like they could scrub away betrayal. So what now? She asked, voice soft. You want a divorce? I stared at her. Cold. Still. No, I said. Not yet. Her brows pulled tight. Then what? I want you to stay. Here. In the guest room. Tell the kids we're going through a rough patch. Why? Her voice cracked. I leaned in, close enough to feel her breath catch. Because I want you to feel it, Madison. Every lie. Every faked smile. Every time you let him touch you and came home to me. I want you to sit in this house and choke on the guilt. I want you to watch everything fall apart. She opened her mouth. Closed it. I turned and walked away. War had begun, and I had no intention of surrender. The days that followed felt like living inside a snow globe, perfect from the outside, frozen and hollow on the inside. Madison stayed, just like I told her. But nothing was real anymore. She moved into the guest room and played pretend for the kids, smiles at breakfast, kisses on their heads, gentle questions about homework. But behind the mask, the cracks were spidering. I saw them all. The twitch in her smile when I didn't say good morning. The way she flinched when I called her Madison instead of babe. I wasn't silent. No, silence is mercy. I was polite. Polite like poison. Thanks for the salt. Lasagna's not bad tonight. Here, let me help you fold Blake's favorite sweater. I drop little bombs, casual and cruel. Blake likes white wine, right? This sweater? Wasn't this what you wore the night you said you were at Sarah's? Funny. Our wedding vows mentioned loyalty. She never answered. Just blinked, lips tight, eyes glassy. She was unraveling. And I watched, savoring every frayed thread. One night, I heard her crying through the guest room door. Quiet, broken sobs. Maybe she thought I'd comfort her. That I was still the man who fixed things. But that man was gone. I spent my nights at the gym, punching the air until my knuckles split. Or parked in my truck, staring at her messages, memorizing every vile word. They kept me sharp, focused. Her tears weren't remorse. They were fear of losing comfort, of being exposed. So I started documenting everything. Screenshots, receipts, a growing case file of betrayal, photos, financial records. I wasn't about to be another man gutted in court while the woman who burned our marriage to the ground walked off with the house and half my future. Then came the letter. Plain white envelope, no stamp. Slid under the front door like a secret. No name, just one photograph inside. Blake, standing outside our local daycare. Smiling, holding a little stuffed bear. I stared at that image for a full minute. His grin, the background, the bear. He was trying to get close to my kids. My heart slammed against my ribs as I ran through the house. Room by room. The boys were safe. Madison was upstairs, asleep. But that picture, it branded itself into my brain. The next morning, after school drop-off, I waited until she was sipping her coffee. Then I dropped the photo on the table. What the hell is this? I asked. Her hand trembled as she picked it up. I don't know. Don't lie, I snapped. I didn't tell him to go there. I swear, she said, voice breaking, eyes wide. I stood so fast the chair screamed across the floor. If he ever shows up near my sons again, I growled. I'll make what happened last time look like a hug. She flinched. I'll tell him to stay away. Please, Nick. I leaned in, low and lethal. You will tell him. And if he doesn't listen, I'll bury him. She nodded, shaking. I walked away before my rage turned to something I couldn't control. But inside, I knew. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about protection, about pride, about finishing what she started on my terms. Because betrayal doesn't end when the truth comes out. It echoes through every glance, every breath, every room you used to smile in, now haunted by ghosts. I wasn't done, not even close. After that daycare photo, I leveled up. No more waiting, no more reaction. I wanted to know everything. Where Blake worked, where he lived, who he lived with, what time he brushed his damn teeth. So I made a call. Jax, an old friend from high school who'd taken a darker path. He owed me, and he knew how to dig. Quietly. I want everything, I told him. Where he sleeps, who he talks to, what skeletons are in his closet. I want leverage. You think he's dangerous? Jax asked. He's either stupid or insane, I said. He thinks he can replace me. Jax grinned. This might be fun. 2 days later, he dropped a folder on my porch, thicker than a high school yearbook. Blake was a walking disaster. Maxed out credit cards. 2 failed businesses. A restraining order from an ex back in 2019. That shiny Mustang? Leased under a fake LLC. He was a fraud. A joke. The kind of guy Madison used to laugh about, roll her eyes at. Now she was rolling in bed with him. I didn't show her the file. Not yet. That was my trump card, for the day she tried to spin the story, or worse, take my boys. But something changed in her before I ever had to use it. She started cooking, cleaning, asking about my day, like she could wipe her scent off every surface she'd tainted. Some nights, she stood in the bedroom doorway, watching me like a stranger. One night, she even brought me dinner, grilled salmon, asparagus. My favorite. I made this for you, she said. I'm not hungry, I replied, eyes still locked on the TV. Nick, she whispered. Please. I looked up, cold and clear. You think dinner fixes this? You think a plate of asparagus makes me forget you were planning a whole new life while sleeping in my bed? Her eyes filled again. Classic. But this time, she didn't turn away. I made a mistake, she said. No, I said, standing. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You built a double life. That takes planning. That takes effort. She opened her mouth again, but I walked past her. Straight to the garage. I needed space. Anything but her. I sat in the car, staring at the garage wall. Breathing. Then, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown, we need to talk. Madison isn't who you think she is. Neither is Blake. My heart stilled. I stared at the screen, thumbs hovering. Then typed, who is this? Unknown, let's just say I've been where you are. Meet me tomorrow. 9 p.m. Parking lot behind Seeger's Hardware. I read the message 3 times. First thought, trap. But my gut said something else. The tone. The timing. The cold breath I suddenly felt on the back of my neck. It wasn't just a warning. It was a match dropped in a forest I thought I'd already burned to ash. So I made my choice. Tomorrow night, I'd walk into the dark. I needed to know how deep this hole really went. Because Madison wasn't just a liar. She might be something much worse. The night was thick with heat and silence, like the world itself was holding its breath. Not even the crickets dared speak as I pulled into the back lot behind Seeger's. One flickering street lamp buzzed above, casting jagged shadows across broken asphalt. 9 p.m. sharp. I killed the engine and sat still for a beat. My hand rested on the glove box, on the old Beretta inside. I'm not stupid. You don't answer mystery texts without insurance. Then I saw him. A man stepped out from behind the dumpster, tall, wiry, hoodie and Red Sox cap pulled low. His stride was slow, steady, like this wasn't his first time in the shadows. I opened the door, stayed behind it. You the one texting me? He nodded. Name's Carter. Why the hell are you contacting me? He glanced around, then stepped forward, just enough for the light to catch his face. Mid-30s. Pale. Eyes sunken like sleep had forgotten him. I was married to her, he said. I froze. To Madison? He shook his head. No. To Blake's ex Lacey. The name hit like a crowbar to the chest. Lacey. I'd never heard that name. Madison never mentioned her. Of course she didn't. Because Lacey knew things. They were best friends in college, Carter said. Soul-sucker twins. His voice was bitter, raw. Lacey caught Blake cheating with 2 other women. One of them was Madison. The air turned ice cold. My mouth felt dry. She helped him with scams, he continued. Fake companies. Real estate fraud. Madison posed as a client. Helped him secure fake investment loans. He looked me in the eye. She's not just cheating on you, Nick. She's partnering with him. You're lying, I said, but there was no heat in it. I didn't even believe myself. Carter pulled something from his jacket and tossed it onto the hood of my car. A flash drive. Watch it, he said. Phone calls. Emails. Bank transfers. I've been collecting everything for 3 years. He stepped back. Blake and Madison aren't in love. They're building an exit. And they plan to leave you with nothing. My hands shook. I clenched them against the hood. Why give me this? Because I lost everything, he said. His voice dropped. My house. My kids. My sanity. I let them get away with it. He turned, disappearing into the dark like he'd never existed. I didn't go home. I found a diner, ordered a black coffee, and slid into a corner booth. The flash drive sat on the table, glowing with silence. I plugged it into my laptop. Folders filled the screen, dates, transactions, names. And then, a video file. Time-stamped. 3 weeks ago. I clicked it. Grainy footage. Madison and Blake. A hotel room. Her hair pulled back, smile wide and easy. I'll distract Nick, she said. Just make sure the paperwork goes through before the 15th. Once he signs, he won't even know the money's gone until it's too late. Blake laughed. You're evil, Mats. She leaned across the table and kissed him. Only for you. I slammed the laptop shut. Jaw clenched so tight I could taste blood. This wasn't betrayal. This was architecture. A long con dressed up in kisses and pillow talk. And now? Now it was war. They wanted a clean escape. But I'd be the wildfire they didn't see coming. When I walked back through our front door, I wasn't the same man. Something inside me hadn't just cracked. It had calculated. The sadness, the humiliation, they were still there, buried in my bones. But now, they sat beneath something colder. Strategy, resolve, rage. Both iced over, measured, focused, deadly. Madison sat on the couch, pretending to read. She looked up, startled to see me home this early. Or maybe at all. "You're back," she said softly. Too soft. Like tiptoeing around a landmine she couldn't see. "I am," I said, hanging my keys on the hook. Just needed to clear my head. She watched me, eyes scanning my face, searching for cracks. Guilt, maybe. Regret. Some hint that the old Nick was still in there. But he wasn't. Not anymore. "I ordered Thai," she offered. "Your favorite." "Panang curry." I nodded. "Great. Thanks." That night, I played the part. I ate the curry, watched a movie with her and the boys, laughed when Caleb giggled at some dumb cartoon. But beneath the calm, I was setting the table, lining up dominoes, one by one. When the house went quiet, I moved like a shadow. I slipped into the guest room, opened her purse, found her phone. Still no passcode. Arrogance or stupidity. I forwarded every damning thing to myself. Emails, screenshots of Blake, calendar notes, bank notifications. One message hit like a blade. Once he signs the equity papers, he'll be out of the picture. The next morning, I made the call. "Carter, it's me. You watch everything?" "All of it. You ready?" "Oh, I'm past ready." We met again, this time in public, daylight, plenty of eyes around. He handed me 2 documents. One, an affidavit from Lacey. Every scam, every scheme, every piece of Madison's involvement. The second, a notarized statement from a former employee of Blake's shell company. Testimony and timelines. I was building a bomb. Next stop, my lawyer. I showed him everything. The videos, the bank trails, the messages. He sat back, stunned. "If you play this right," he said, "she won't just lose custody. She could face criminal charges." I nodded. Good. Let her rot. Then came the hardest part. I had to keep pretending, keep smiling. Madison did too, thinking she was clawing her way back into my good graces. She wore makeup again, started humming around the house, checked herself in the mirror like she was winning. But all she was doing was dancing toward her own grave. Friday morning, I got the alert. Blake had wired $40,000 into one of the business accounts Madison and I shared. One she thought I'd forgotten about. I hadn't. I'd flagged it, tracked it, watched the money snake its way in, waiting to be funneled elsewhere. Dinner came. The good plates. Candles lit. Chicken parm. She was going all in. She thought we were rebuilding. I waited until the boys finished eating, then gently excused them to go play. Then I pushed my plate aside. "You should tell the boys now," I said. She blinked. "Tell them what?" "That you're leaving. For good." Her fork slipped, clinked against porcelain. "What are you talking about?" "I've seen the videos. The fake accounts. The money. The lies. The plan. The hotel." I stared straight through her. "I know everything, Madison." Her face drained of color. "Nick, no more lies. No more fake tears. No more dinners with poison underneath." She stood fast. "You have no proof." I slid the flash drive across the table. She froze. Didn't touch it. Couldn't. "Carter says hi," I added. She sank into the chair like her legs gave out. For the first time, she looked afraid. Her eyes locked on that little piece of plastic like it might detonate. "Carter," she whispered. "You talked to Carter?" I leaned back in my chair, arms folded. Calm. Icy. "Yeah." He had a lot to say, and even more receipts. She pressed a trembling hand to her temple, like she could massage the panic out of her skull. Her thoughts raced. I could see it. Strategy trying to reboot. But the queen was cornered, and she knew it. "You're making a huge mistake," she said. I smiled, cold and small. "No, I'm finally making the right one." She said it softly, her voice trembling. "Am I? You think this is going to help the kids? You think dragging their mother through hell makes you the good guy?" I slammed my hand against the table so hard it rattled the plates. "Don't you dare bring the kids into this." She flinched. "You were going to leave them," I hissed. "Trade your own sons for a guy who can't keep a business alive longer than 6 months. You were ready to hand their future to a con man. So don't you dare play the mother card now." Her tears vanished like smoke. And just like that, the mask slipped. No more sweet wife. No more soft voice. Just Madison, raw, cold, cornered. "So what?" she spat. "You want revenge? You think that's noble? You think some judge is going to give a damn about your little show?" I smiled, slow and steady. "I don't need a show," I said. I've got evidence. I've got testimony. And I've got time. I leaned in, my voice ablaze. Every day you breathe in this house. It's air I let you breathe. But that ends tomorrow. You can't kick me out of my own home. It's my home, I growled. Paid with my money. In my name. And as of this morning, there's a restraining order filed with the court. You've got until the end of the week. Her face twisted in fury. You bastard. I stood, grabbed the flash drive off the table, and turned toward the hallway. Where are you going? She yelled after me. To finish what you started, I said. And I didn't look back. 3 days later, Madison was gone. I watched from the window as she shoved the last of her designer bags into her sister's car. No tears. No apology. Just one final, burning glare through the glass, like I was the villain in her story. I smiled and waved. A week later, the judge granted me full temporary custody. Her visitation, suspended until the fraud investigation played out. The DA's office had opened a case on Blake. Carter's evidence went deeper than we ever imagined. Bank fraud, identity theft, mail fraud. Blake wasn't just going down, he was going away. And Madison? Her face hit the evening news once the investigation became public. I saved the clip. She went from neighborhood darling to a walking disgrace. Doors closed. Whispers followed. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on the porch, just me and the stars, and wonder how it all unraveled. How the woman I married turned to vapor, perfume, and secrets. How she kissed me while whispering betrayal behind my back. But then Ethan runs out, holding up his school project. Or Caleb climbs into my lap, beaming, with a crayon drawing of the three of us under the sun. And I remember what matters. They tried to erase me, but I didn't just survive. I won. So here's my advice, if you ever find a message like I did, don't just confront it.